It starts with a passport photo, a bright smile, a suitcase resting by the front door. Her bags were completely packed. Her flight was booked for July 21st, and in just 3 days, she was supposed to leave Chicago behind forever to start over. But she never made it to the airport. What you are about to hear is a blend of intense digital masking and raw human tragedy. It is the story of a young woman who built an online sanctuary to celebrate her freedom, while an obsessive threat was quietly traveling 700 miles across the country to lock her back inside the trap. True crime isn't about the beautifully edited progress videos we see on our feeds. It's about the terrifying realities that happen in the silent pause after the camera stops rolling. This is the masked reality of Sania Khan, July 2022, Streeterville, Chicago. To the 20,000 people who followed her on TikTok, Sania Khan was a symbol of radiant resilience. She was a 29-year-old Pakistani American professional photographer who possessed a rare eye for capturing the joy in other people's lives. She photographed weddings, graduations, and private milestones. But online, she chose to turn the camera completely on herself. Under her username, she wore the mask of an empowered, independent survivor. She began documenting her raw, personal journey through a toxic marriage and the intense social stigma of getting a divorce within the South Asian diaspora. She filmed videos in her high-rise apartment, looking directly into the lens, telling her followers words that felt like a healing embrace. Going through a divorce as a South Asian woman feels like you failed at life sometimes. A reminder that you don't have to settle in marriage or love. To the digital world, Sania was the perfect picture image of healing. She looked happy. She looked safe. She was mapping out a beautiful new beginning. But behind the curated aesthetic, her reality was narrowing down to a matter of survival. In her private world, the act of walking away wasn't celebrated. It was treated as an unpardonable sin. Sania openly discussed on her platform that members of her own community and family pressured her to stay, telling her that by filing for divorce, she was destroying her family's public image. In one of her most heartbreaking final captions, she wrote, "The first few months of leaving are the hardest. My community gave up on me, but the peace I found was worth it." But she refused to let the mask of appearances dictate her worth. She legally finalized her divorce from her estranged husband, 36-year-old Raheel Ahmad. She packed her photography equipment, terminated her lease, and prepared to move back home to Chattanooga, Tennessee, to breathe again. She thought the legal paperwork had set her free. She didn't know that to a deeply controlling person, legal boundaries are nothing more than an invitation to retaliate. To understand the toxic mechanism driving Raheel Ahmad, you have to look at the psychological breakdown of his control. Raheel was a man who lived a comfortable life in Alpharetta, Georgia, a wealthy suburb of Atlanta. To his family and peers, he was an ordinary, quiet professional. But when Sania exposed the internal reality of their marriage to thousands of strangers on the internet, his fragile public facade shattered. He became entirely consumed by her digital independence. He watched her thrive without him. He watched her tell the world about his red flags. Witnesses later noted that Raheel's behavior in Georgia grew increasingly erratic, dark, and desperate. He wasn't just grieving a failed marriage. He was experiencing what we call a narcissistic fracture. His public mask had been ripped away by the very woman he believed he owned. He quietly began mapping her routines in Chicago. In this hybrid reality, we see the ultimate digital trap. A smartphone screen doesn't just connect a creator to their audience, it connects a predator directly to their location. And in mid-July, Rahil packed a bag, bought a handgun, and stepped out of his house. By July 17th, 2022, Rahil was driving a 700-mile straight line toward her front door. July 18th, 2022, Sania is inside her apartment in the 200 block of East Ohio Street in downtown Chicago. The boxes are taped. Her suitcases are sealed. Her new life is less than 72 hours away. Suddenly, a knock comes at the door. According to police timelines, Rahil Ahmad had successfully bypassed building security, went up to her floor, and stood outside her apartment. He claimed he had traveled all that way to salvage the marriage, but you don't bring a loaded weapon to a reconciliation. Later that afternoon, hundreds of miles away in Georgia, Rahil's panicked family contacts the Alpharetta Police Department. They report him missing, telling officers they are deeply concerned about his mental state and his sudden unannounced travel to Illinois. Alpharetta police immediately contact the Chicago Police Department, requesting an urgent welfare check on the property. When Chicago officers arrive at the high-rise building, they walk down the quiet residential hallway. Everything looks pristine. It's an upscale, peaceful corridor. But then they knock on Sania's door. The knock is answered by an immediate terrifying sound inside of the unit. A single echoing gunshot rings out through the door. Officers breach the entrance immediately, rushing into the apartment. The space is filled with the smell of gunpowder. Near the door, they find the devastating reality behind the healing illusion. Sania Khan is lying unresponsive on the floor with a fatal gunshot wound to the back of her head. A few feet away, Rahil Ahmad is slumped against a wall with a self-inflicted head wound, a handgun still clutched in his hand next to the handwritten suicide note. He is rushed to the Northwestern Memorial Hospital, where he is officially pronounced dead. The digital sanctuary she built was turned into a cold forensic scene in a matter of seconds. The murder-suicide sent massive shockwaves across social media, completely shattering her online community. In the aftermath of the tragedy, Sania's friends and fellow South Asian creators flooded TikTok, turning her comment section into a digital memorial. But the conversation quickly shifted from grief to deep cultural anger. Fellow women in the community began aggressively calling out a systemic issue that Sania had died trying to fight: the weaponization of sabr. Sabr is the traditional Arabic word for patience and endurance. But as her followers pointed out in highly emotional videos, in an abusive relationship, telling a woman to have patience isn't a virtue, it's a death sentence. Sania's videos were retrospectively viewed not just as an inspiring healing journey, but as a desperate real-time distress signal. Her close friend, Mehru Sheikh, later stepped forward to confirm the absolute horror behind the digital mask, breaking down in tears as she revealed the truth. Sania was terrified. She put on a brave face for the camera because she wanted to save other girls. But she was living a nightmare. She was just a girl who wanted her freedom. She had to put on a brave, smiling face for her camera to empower others, while secretly looking over her shoulder every single day. True crime often tries to close the book once the perpetrator is dead, but a story like Sania's leaves behind massive, systematic questions that refuse to go away. Following the closing of the criminal investigation, former classmates from her high school established a permanent memorial scholarship in her name, determined to keep her creative spirit alive. But while her hometown honored her memory, her digital footprint became a battleground. Her TikTok account, once a vibrant space of colorful photography, tips, and bright, encouraging advice, was frozen in time. Viewers began noticing a chilling paradox. The very platform Sania used to escape her isolation was the exact tool that amplified her voice so loud that it drew her killer straight to her doorstep. The algorithms that are designed to bring people together had unintentionally broadcasted her freedom to a man who was determined to end it. Sania Khan was a beautiful, deeply empathetic 29-year-old woman who believed she had finally broken through the concrete walls of cultural stigma and marital trauma. She packed her life into cardboard boxes, celebrated her survival on a global stage, and looked forward to the peace of her native Tennessee. And then just 3 days before her flight, inside a quiet condominium in the heart of Chicago, everything went silent. Sometimes the danger doesn't announce itself through dark, ominous threats. Sometimes it hides behind the ordinary interface of a smartphone, waiting for you to smile before it strikes. The digital mask of the perfect healing journey has fallen, leaving behind a profound reminder that behind every aesthetic grid, there is a real life that cannot be paused or edited. Let's keep the conversation going in the comments below. How do we build a world where women don't have to put on a brave face just to stay safe? Sania deserved to catch the flight. She deserved to grow old, taking beautiful photographs, and living the independent life she fought so hard for. Hold your loved ones a little closer tonight. The grid is never the whole story. May Sania continue to rest in peace. If you like this content, please remember to like, share, subscribe. Stay safe.